What's going on, guys? This is Lation from Lation Scripts, and we're doing a bit of a detailed walkthrough of the new meth script. I know some people have been waiting for this, and I'm really excited to get it out. There's a few different moving parts to this. There's two different main ways you can, craft meth. Is, first on the tables, and then at a warehouse, or, however you want. It has a leveling system, a progression system, I guess, if you will, where you can make, certain things available at certain levels. Let's say the warehouse cooking, for example. You can have players starting on the table, work their way up, gaining experience there, and then eventually have access to the ability to purchase a warehouse and then start cranking out meth in there. So we're just going to get right into it. I'll try to show as much as I can without being too long. And so yeah, first things first, if we're going to start right at the bottom, we're going to start with the tables, and you need a way to get a table. So I included a little, I guess I'd call a little basic table obtaining system, right? So this is a blip that's there by default, but you can just toggle this on or off. It's just here for ease of access for me right now. And you got this nice guy James over here, right? So you talk to James, and he can ask you, like, oh, yeah, no, I heard you were coming, but I need X amount of whatever before I can give this to you. He says, well, I don't have it. But so this is a configurable option. You can make him require an item. You can make him not require an item. Obviously, you can change the item and the quantity of what you want him to require. So this is an easy way to tie in other scripts of yours, other items of yours in your server, and tie everything together nicely. So yeah, at this point, he trades X amount of joints for this table. It says he already gave it to us, and now we got the table. Great. So once we got the table, we're pretty much ready to do whatever with it. Let's just go somewhere a little different with it. So yeah, we can use this item and place it down wherever we want, and obviously you have full control over where this table can and can't be placed. In the config, you can add restricted areas. You can keep the collision check system on. You can keep the collision check system off. You can have a soil checking feature. So, for example, I wouldn't be able to put it on here. And so, when we open up a table, this is the first thing we're greeted with. You got all your XP information, cooking, level 1 out of 10. Currently have 0 XP. Next level's at 240 XP. Gives you the remainder, and then the efficiency bonus, which is, as you level up, there's a option in the config. You can give the player, you can give certain levels rather a certain efficiency bonus, which really is their efficiency in cooking. So there's certain stages that are really long by default. For example, let's look. This will explain it. If we go into the start cooking menu, we can see all the different steps. You got a heat mixture up down here, and pour and cool. So that efficiency comes into play on those stages specifically because they're longer duration stages. For example, heating is 60 minutes in the config, pour and cool is 90 minutes, and so the efficiency level would reduce that amount of time. So let's say if level 1 had an efficiency bonus of 50%, 60 minutes turns into 30. You know what I mean? So as they level up, they get quicker. And that's all. You can make it all 0 or whatever, or 500%. You can make it however you want. So yeah, if it sets first thing, shows you your XP and your efficiency bonus. You got some basic stats here. Open to suggestions on any other stats we can track in here, but how much meth you produced, how much supply runs you completed. We're going to get into that just next. Current status shows you what's going on here, and then you got pack everything up and move it, and then you got your start cooking. So if we tried to start, we ain't gonna be able to because we don't have anything. So we'll just pack up this table, and we're gonna go get everything we need. So for obtaining supplies, again, there's a blip available on the map right now, which can just be turned off, just like everything. And this is just our meth supplies guy, right? So we'll go over there, and this is very similar to the James guy we met earlier. And basically, this guy, you talk to him, tells you he's got connects all around the area with the stuff you need, but this access don't come free. And again, do you got X, Y, and Z for me? We don't, so we're gonna get that real quick. And so yeah, we'll give them that. And again, you can change this item, change the quantity, or you can have no item requirement at all. But I like a little payment to get started for this information he's going to give us. And it connects us with the first supplier. And so you'll drive around, meet with these suppliers, right? So here's our first one, and we're going to get a box of supplies. It'll ask us if we'd like to continue our supply runs. We'll just heck yeah. And again, that'll bring us to the next position. All these configs and ped models, and or rather not configs, locations and everything can all be changed in the config. So we got another supplier. We'll go hit another one. And so we get this one. And again, it just hands you a box, and we'll stop there. So we got 3 supply crates, I guess you'd call it, right? And you can use these items to open them up, and it'll give you meth supplies. Surprising. So every time we open it, you'll see I get a different item. First time we got pseudoephedrine pills, and now we're getting iodine, and you see it comes with a durability, which is pretty much like the quantity of iodine in that bottle. And you know, we keep going through, we open these up. It'll give us a different item every time until we have all the items that are in the config. So by default there's 5 items, and then it'll give you items at random, but not give you duplicates until you have all the items, if that makes sense. So basically it's just kind of a time saver where you know, because if you run around all the map, you got to run to 20 different people to get like this one thing you need. Or you can kind of make it a little simpler, give the item it checks the inventory for what items they do have and gives the first one that they don't have. And then if it finds that they have all the items, then it selects them at random. So it's kind of an interesting little supply crate box that tries to make the process a little efficient. But there's different ways you can use it. You can throw junk items in there and really make things longer, or keep it the way it is. There's all types of options. You can add any items you want in these supply crates. And as a matter of fact, we need a couple more items. So we're going to go ahead and get a couple more crates. And again, this is just going to give us everything that we don't have. Now we got the hydrochloric acid. And now we got our acetone. So here's our main items here. And then if we open it again, now we're going to get duplicates, being that we have everything. So it'll start giving items at random in that sense. But yeah, so now we got all the items we need, basically, with the exception of one, but we'll get there. And if we go to place this table here and have a closer look at the cooking process, now that we have items, we can get started by establishing a basic crushed pseudoephedrine, and I'll speed this up. So once that stage is over, it's given us a new item and removed our previous item. And this is how you kind of continue through the list up until you get here. These are your inputs, you know, your quantity of each ingredient. 1 is obviously 1%, 100 is full consumption of that item. And this is where things get interesting, because every single input results in a different strain, obviously. And there's a couple different ways we can go about how we want the best mixture to be established. By default, in the script, every player has a different mixture. So, you know, that kind of eliminates, once one player figures it out, all the information gets sold throughout the server, and then there goes the fun in trying to discover it. So by default, every single player has a different combination to achieve the perfect strain, you know, 100% purity, basically. That can be turned off. It's just called unique in the config. You can turn it unique false, and then everybody's on the same mixture inputs. So you can do it how you like. I'm just going to put one at random here because I don't know what mine is. I haven't actually looked. And of course, you know, you got the animations and all that fun stuff. So the item you're going to get is going to be like a beginning, like a starting meth item points. It'll be liquid meth, because we're just mixing a bunch of chemicals, but it will have its purity and strain value attached to it based on your inputs, which we get here. Clear spark purity is 66. All the strains and things can be renamed and changed. You can do it however you want. The names kind of scale with the purity. So like some of the lower purity stuff is like, junkyard trash or whatever. So yeah, you got this, and again, there's no hard set way you gotta cook. You can just come back to this later. These could be in your house when you can stop in and do what you gotta do, and then cook at your pace. But all information is kind of tied to this table, like its position, who owns it, which is another thing real quick. You can, in the config, you can turn on or off who can interact with the table. You can allow anybody to interact with the table. So, for example, say this guy left it here, and he went to go do something. If someone found it, they can pack it up and walk away with it. Or you can lock the tables to their owners, where only the owner can interact with it. So, something to keep in mind. And again, if we just continue, now we got a heat mixture stage. Now remember, our purity is 66 right now. There is an ideal temperature range, which you can set in the config, and any deviation from that good temperature range will result in obviously purity being impacted. So I think that range by default is like 185 to 190 or something. So if I stayed within that range, my purity remains the same. It won't get impacted because I'm heating it at the right temperature, right? And that's generally always the same. But we'll just go ahead and crank it up to 350 to really mess this stuff up. So, you turn the temperature up, and now I'm starting to take damage, which you can see it says, makes it hard to breathe. So anytime you're near the table when it's in this heating stage, you need a gas mask, which we can just grab real quick, and I'll show you. If I put this on and go in here, now I'm good. I can interact with the table again without the risk of dying. So here we are now. This current status we saw earlier is now updating, telling you what's going on. You can't interact with the table right now. There's a batch cooking, or rather being heated, and you can just check in on this as this goes along. Right now this is set to like 60 minutes, so I'm not going to stand here that long. We'll skip through. But yeah, the gas mask here protects you from the fumes of this table. And again, if I take it off, I start getting hit. You can change, again, everything. How big this radius is from the table. You can make this bigger. You can make this radius smaller. And again, this impacts everybody who comes nearby it. So something to keep in mind. These gas masks need to be made available somewhere. I have them in the crates by default, supply crates, but I recommend people put them somewhere else, in a shop, or it's just gas mask. Doesn't have to necessarily mean it's an illegal item. Can be sold anywhere. But yeah, there I go, getting impacted again. So anytime it's in the heating stage on any table anywhere, you're gonna have to deal with that damage. We can see our progress bar moving as we're making some progress here, and you can change these durations however you want. You can make it 1 minute, can make it 20,000 minutes, whatever. All the information and data is persistent through server restarts, logouts. Player and server can do anything at once. These tables will pick right back up right where they left off. So let's get to the end of the stage. Alright, so we're back at it. Stage is complete. The heating's done. We can now access this area without a gas mask again and check on our table. Current status, not going on, but we can see we've made it through the first 3 steps, and now we just got a couple other simple steps to do. The next one's adding the hydrochloric acid. This is supposed to solidify the mixture a little bit, because right now it's still in that liquidy form. But real quick, wanted to make note of the police dispatching during this stuff. So there's a chance in the config, well, you can turn this dispatch off completely, or you can keep it on. But you can set a chance where every time the table stage changes, the police can get notified of a, I forget the exact message, but something going on in the area. I think it was it might have been tied to the heating stage or some stage where there was a toxic smell in the area, or, anonymous citizen reported toxic chemical smell in this area, and if your dispatch script supports it, it creates a radius blip for the police to kind of search that area. It doesn't just straight ping the table's location like, well, here's that. So this can give your police and everything a little more interaction. This can bring police into the area, and the person cooking on the table wouldn't even know that it's been reported there's smell in the area, chemical smell in the area, you know. And you can turn it on, off, set the chances of it happening. But I believe the chances at every stage change, there's a chance of dispatching. If your dispatch script doesn't support radius blips, then it's just going to put a blip pretty much right where the table is. So again, but if you're using typical dispatch like Quasar dispatch, CD dispatch, Arcor dispatch, they all support the radius, so creates an area for your police to search and not pinpointing the location exactly where it is. All right, so this next step, it's just a quick one. You just pouring some hydrochloric acid in the mix, and there's that. And again, going earlier when we selected our inputs, I don't know if I showed, but it updates obviously the durability of the item. And moving on, now we get to the pour and cool stage, where it's just going to pour the mixture, aka into the trays, and going to let it cool. And this is another a waiting stage. This is where if this player had an efficiency bonus, again on the heating stage as well, this duration would be brought down depending on their bonus. So again, if that efficiency bonus was 50%, time will be reduced by 50%. So let's just get through this. Alright, so now we're done the cooling stage, and we're on our final stage of breaking down into an actual crystal, where we can bag this item, where the item will be bagged and it's ready for whatever. Use, sale, however. So now we're level 1 with like no XP, no nothing. So we got 1 murky shimmer, 45% purity. Again, all these quantities and stuff are changed in the config. I have the beginning levels pretty low. It's kind of just an experience grind at first, but you could just change that. So you can see the purity went from 66 we had earlier to now 45. That was because our selection of temperature. We just completely botched the temperature, so we ruined the purity. Not that it was that great to begin with, but that's how it works. You can also change the penalty of that temperature selection if it's wrong. So I just have it set by default to 50%, so where like the max deviation from the ideal temperature range will only impact the purity like up to 50%. But you can make that worse, you can make it better. Again, everything here can be changed. So that's the table cooking process. Now we could have got 50 bags of meth from that cooking session if we wanted. It all depends on your config options, and each level can have a different quantity too. So if we were level 10, we could have got a lot more, and we can now go back in here and we see we've gained some XP. So we're working up towards the next level, and our statistics show we did 4 supply runs and we produced 1 bag of meth. And that's roughly the tables in a nutshell. And again, you just pack it up, do whatever you want, but we're gonna go check on some warehouses. Alright, so when it comes to warehouses, there's a warehouse dealer kind of guy again. This has a blip on the map just so I knew where it was. For now, you can turn those blips off or on, and you can also make all these PEDs, by the way, the supply guy, the table guy, this warehouse guy. You can set the hours at which they are available. You can make it during the nighttime only. You can make it during a very specific window, or you can make them available day and night, all day. So we're gonna go up to this guy, and these are the warehouses that are available. So it tells you just off Dutch London Street, in a secluded area, on dry dock, in an industrial and safe area. And they got a little picture, so you can add or remove as many warehouses as you want to fit your server. By default, you can see there is 6 of them I've included, and you can add there's a images folder in the script folder where you can just take a picture of these warehouses, put them in there, and load them up in the menu here. So just so players can see. And then so if we go here, this first one, we can confirm or cancel purchase, or we can set a waypoint to see where this warehouse is. So if we do that, we can see the exact location of where this would be, and we can, you know, check out the area or what have you. But we're gonna go ahead and buy this thing, but I need some money. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and confirm this purchase, and boom, now we got a warehouse at that location. So let's go check it out. Now here we are at our warehouse, and we can just enter. When you first buy a warehouse, the default config options are it comes empty. There is nothing you can do with this at this moment. There's no equipment, there's no nothing. And this is by design, but again, in the config, you can make them come included with everything they need. But we got our laptop here, and this is where we're gonna manage facility. You can order the manufacturing equipment, order securing equipment or security equipment, transfer ownership, sell warehouse to state. These are our starting options. And buy the necessary equipment to start manufacturing. Price is $35,000, and TTD is time to delivery. So it's saying, you know, it's going to take 2 hours to get delivered, aka. So if we buy that, well, I don't have enough money. So we'll buy that. Right. We go back into our menu, and we see an upgrade pending. No upgrades available until current one is complete, and the time to delivery is 2 hours. So at this stage, we would leave. We got nothing much to do. Ordering or purchasing an upgrade is like, you know, waiting for it to get delivered. Now we're down to 1 hour and 59 minutes, as you can see. So this, you can change those durations. You can make them virtually instant. You can make them take many, many hours. You know, these warehouses are kind of like an investment. You're growing. By the time you've reached a level at which you can purchase warehouses, which by the way is by default level 1. But you can require warehouses to be, like, you know, purchased at level 5, or you can customize that warehouse shopping menu you saw can be changed where each warehouse has its own unique level requirement, and if a player doesn't have that level, it won't even show up in the menu. So this is where you can create kind of a little differences between some warehouses as far as locations and price and level, but yeah, so let's wait 1 hour and 58 minutes. Alright, so I've waited the duration of the upgrade, and now I'm coming back, and here we go. We got all our equipment delivered. And so now at this stage we could start manufacturing, but there's a few other things to go over real quick. So now you see new options. Manage operations, since we now have something we can cook with. And you also have the option to upgrade your manufacturing equipment. So that's the same idea. It's just going to be the nicer version of all this stuff instead of the rusty cans. It's going to be shinier and all that. But we also have this security equipment option. Buy the necessary equipment to secure the facility. Right now, when you first purchase, again, you can change this, but the doors are unlocked. So there's no security equipment. There's nothing preventing anybody from coming in. Not like it would really matter when you don't have the manufacturing equipment. But once you got your equipment, now you have stashes. You know, oh, that's left over from earlier. But yeah, so you would have an empty starting stash. And so you'd want to secure your place now. You wouldn't want people coming in and using your stash, what have you. So we would order the security equipment, which would give us, you know, all the necessary things to secure stuff. And we'll show you what comes included with that in 1 hour and 15 minutes. All right, so our security equipment is now here. You can see it's updated on the table here, and we have a new menu option, Manage Security. And in here, we got our door status, which obviously was unlocked. We can now just lock that door. So that's good. We can also view our front door security camera. We'll look at that real quick. And this is, you know, obviously a live view of the entrance. Looking out for the cops and whatnot running down. You know, you can pan, zoom, And all these zooming and panning limits can be changed in the config. You can make this camera as movable or not as you like. And we'll just get out of there. And back in our menu, now we can add a passcode to our stashes. So by default, stashes are not very secured. Anybody in here can open that stash. But if we got security equipment, we can go ahead and add a pin. So if we go over here, try to access this stash now, we need the correct pin to get in. So this is good for sharing with other members of, gang, friends, whatever. And we can reset the passcode to change it. We can remove it. And we also got authorized users. This gives people access to the warehouse who otherwise couldn't enter if it was locked. So like pretty much nobody can enter if it's locked, except for these authorized users. They can go in and out as they please. So you can add or remove people whenever, however. And it'll just ask for their source. Since there's nobody else with me, I'm going to try to add myself, but it won't, because that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so that's generally the security. And now as far as actually cooking in here, we got some options, right? We got, well, I guess the important part is here. We went with a different way than the typical meth warehouse processes. So this, we're considering a supply tank, which we can refill as needed with our supplies, right? So we got the ammonia, we got the iodine, we got the acetone, and those current levels are all 0, and takes 100% until full. We have a bunch of full bottles, so we're gonna go ahead and fill the tank. Alright, so once we've done filling it, now you can see the current level is 100%, 0% until full. And we can track all our status, obviously, or our levels of everything in our Manage Operations menu that we haven't visited yet. Now we got a current status. This tells you anything that's going on as far as production. Again, nothing's currently happening here, but we can see our current supply levels now, which are 100%. And our inputs. This is our selected mixtures and temperatures, which is the next part. Now we can go to these panels and we can input, just like before, the strain we want to make if we know. Again, you can make this unique or not, and this is separate from the tables, so you can have a complete, if you don't use unique mixtures based, like each player's mixture is different. If you want to use one that's the same, you can have a different one for the warehouse versus the tables, all that good stuff. So if we put an input here, and then if we open it again, obviously we see our last input. So we like those inputs, and the other side here is where we can set our temperature. And just like before, there's an ideal temperature range, which is a little different from the tables, but you can obviously make it how you want. So we'll just put a temperature in, and again, that will save your inputs. So basically, having a warehouse is kind of like an automated, a more automated, I mean, what's a warehouse facility for? It's kind of for automation. All these machines and stuff. You set your values, you set your inputs, and you go to work, or you start it up. So now if you look at our inputs, you can see everything we put in, our temperatures and our levels of everything, and we can power on the equipment to begin cooking. It'll make sure, confirm you're good, and we hit yes. So if we go back into our menu, manage operations, we'll now see the stage we're on, and that's powering on equipment. Oh, and there is a power surge. You hear the electrical hum as the power surges. Now that is another optional police dispatching feature that you can set, or you can disable this completely. A chance in the config for a power surge during the startup phase. So we just had a power surge, so police would have gotten a notification that there was a power surge in the area, or a reported power surge in the area, and again that will display a radius blip around the area of the warehouse. Won't just pinpoint the warehouse, assuming you're using a dispatching system that supports that. Again, most of them do, but some don't. And our supply levels update here, just as we used them, and our inputs obviously are as we left them, which is this process is now going to mix and heat and cool all the meth according to those numbers. So at this stage, there's no more interacting with the inputs because we are now currently in a manufacturing process, and this facility will go through multiple stages. We're now on stage 2 of 5, mixing chemicals to specifications. Each stage has its own duration to which you can set. You can set them from 1 minute and have another stage 500 minutes. However you want to do it is up to you. So yeah, you can always just come back later, hop on your laptop, check what stage you're on and the percentage you've made so far. And while that's, we can top off our tank for the next time or the next run if we wanted, but I don't have enough right now. I would need some more bottles. And so we're going to let this go through some stages here, and we'll revisit in a moment. There is, again, 5 stages, and all of these stages can be changed in the config. Their labels, their duration. You can make this how you like it to be. But the goal of the warehouse is to be a bit of an automated process. It's a warehouse. It's a production facility. The tables are a little more hands-on, requires you to be there for every step, while this one is an automated one. And of course, will produce larger yields, or not, if you make it so. But everything is customizable. But let's come back as we're finishing up to stage 5. Alright, so we're at stage 5, finishing up here. And if I haven't mentioned previously, which should go without saying, just like the tables, all these stages persist through restarts, logouts, doesn't matter what's going on. All this stuff will pick right back up where it left off at the time of a restart or whatever. Okay, so current status is nothing. So now, what? If we go into our stash, we should now have a tray. Now, and this is the great part, it automatically inserts it into the stash that exists in your warehouse, so you don't even have to be here to collect the items. You can just come in or have people work in here. The idea is to have this even a bit more automated with gang members or people you hired to work for you, where you got the production running, tray after tray is getting dropped in here, and you got people going to break these down, which we'll show you. So once you got a tray, now you can break this good stuff down with some fun animations. Obviously nothing we ain't seen before, but I'll show you the process. So we got our tray, and we're going to start the breakdown process. So it's just going to, obviously crush this stuff, and I'll just speed it up a little. Alright, so once you're done breaking down, now you've got the meth box, which is, we transferred it to the box, and obviously that information follows over to the box. Now, we can just store these in here for a later time, or we can come back, later, or like I said, and bag this stuff up. So again, like tables, you can kind of cook at your pace here. You can automate it as much as possible if you got some people willing to work with you, all that good stuff. So the next part now would be bagging this up. So let's check that out. Alright, so bagging, just like the other animation, we've seen these before, but they're also fun. They're just fun to watch. I'll play it through a little fast. And there we go. We got some new meth here. And that was our average rock that we just cooked. We only got 5, but again, I'm only level 1. And the warehouse has separate yield min and max value than the tables. So you can customize every level and every place. Tables, warehouses, what have you. And so other than that, that's the production process, real quick overview. We can upgrade our equipment still. We got the transfer ownership if we wanted to transfer ownership of our warehouse to someone, which will include all the data with that transfer. So if there was things left in the stash, all your current ammonia, iodine levels, all that stuff transfers to the new owner. If we were to sell, this is an option in the config where you can change how much of a percentage they get back. So if you paid $1 million and you have a 50% return or sale value to the state, then they'll get half that money back. You can change that to whatever you like. And that about covers that stuff. The next most interesting thing I'd say is the police rating feature, which can be turned on or off. We'll try to I'll give you a quick little walkthrough of what that looks like. Alright, so I changed the owner of the warehouse to a different character, so I'm no longer the owner, and we're just going to kind of simulate what police would go through with the warehouses. Now, this is ideally like police would build a case on a player, and they would organize like a raid for when they're in there and try to catch as much people as possible. Whatever, you know how police stuff works. But if the warehouse was locked and they got stash pins, what would happen is if there are police that'll ask you about to break into a citizen's property, you sure you want to proceed, they will then be given obviously a skill check. And as long as you pass the skill check, you can have a whole squad of police out here. This will update the door lock status for everybody. You can make that skill check as long or as short as you like, and now you've entered the warehouse. And that actually completely sets the door as unlocked, allowing anybody to come in behind them. And now this manage facility menu previously has become a confiscate equipment menu. This is where police can decide what if these upgrades exist, they can confiscate them. So we'll select both. We'll take it all: the security equipment, the manufacturing equipment. Before we do that, if we try to get into a stash, here we go again. It has a lock that we set earlier, remember? So the police would have to break into the stash as well. And I don't remember if I put anything in here. I don't believe so. But just for demonstration purposes, we'll get ourselves in there. You can make these skill checks as easy or as difficult, as long, as short as you want. So now that's the stash. That removes the passcode from it entirely, and we'll confiscate this equipment. So dispatch is notified that we can confiscation of all the equipment requested shortly. So let's imagine all the scene plays out here of whatever they do. Everybody leaves. Once everybody's exited the warehouse, that's when the confiscation begins. And let's say somebody re-entered it later, like say the owner, the original owner. Everything's gone, and he's gonna have to go repurchase all his equipment because it's been confiscated. Again, that's an optional feature. If you want your police to be able to do that, you have the option. If not, you can just turn it off. One thing I didn't demonstrate so far was targets. This does support Ox target, QB target, even the interact script. I'm not sure how many people use that, but it also requires inventories that support metadata. Now this is most inventories. For example, Ox inventory, QB inventory, Quasar inventory, PS inventory, Project Sloth. They all have metadata, and all those inventories are already supported. But if you don't use one of those inventories, also Origin inventory, Codem inventory, all support metadata, and I already support all those inventories. But if you have an inventory that's not listed, if you know you have metadata features on your inventory, just reach out. We'll work on adding support for that. It isn't hard. But if your inventory, if you know it doesn't have metadata support, then this script will not work for you. So that's an important distinction. This supports ESX, QBCore, QBox, even Oxcore. And I believe that is the most of it. So outside that, I guess just briefly, just a reminder, you can change everything in this script. You can change how many warehouses you can own. You can have it 1, you can have it 10, you can change how many tables a player can use. A player could be running 10 different tables in 10 different places if that's what you wish, or you can make it just one table. Every single thing can be changed, tweaked, customized, every duration, all that good stuff. There's nothing you can't change. There's also a lot of open source code, the whole bridge. So if you want to make small changes and tweaks, third-party script integrations into this, you can. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this overview of our new meth crafting. I think it's a really exciting meth crafting script, and I hope you guys do too. It was a lot of fun to make, a couple months in the making, but it is now available, and we couldn't be more happy. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon.